Hello and welcome to a podcast from the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. It's Dr. Ann DeSantis with my wonderful guest and board member, Carlos Solorzano. Carlos is a Catholic author and speaker. He's from Arizona. He's also an educator. Carlos, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
It is, and this is going to be a wonderful series. I want to tell all of you what this is exactly. So it's the Our Lady, Our Mother podcast series. It's a 12-part series that will premiere the first Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Every single month, we're going to focus on a different crisis that families go through. It could be a variety of different things, and we're going to talk about that during this podcast. But why don't we just dive right in, Carlos, to your background, your ministry, and just tell us about your Catholic faith. And I know that the Blessed Mother has a lot to do with your faith and your mission in life.
Absolutely. Can't grow up, cradle Catholic, Mexican American Catholic. So Our Lady Guadalupe is a huge part of our lives. Um, I think my background always came from the foundation I grew up in with my parents and mass and just the way we were raised. It was interesting because I was always appreciative where there was a right and wrong. There's such a reality of sin, but my mother was always quick to remind us that God is forgiving. But as long as you were owning up to what you did. And then there was also that sense of trying to understand and know what people are going through. So sometimes while you don't ignore sin, say, but you try to understand what is causing people's decision making or what they're struggling with. And my father was a teacher. So I was always around him and, seeing him at home, for example, lesson planning and grading. And then when we were growing up, my father was working at a Catholic school. So we were going to, games or school events all the time. I got to meet a lot of people he worked with. I got to, meet his students. And a lot of them were like, your dad's a great teacher, blah, 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 and just how serious he was about Catholic education. So I actually went to public school most of my life, but I did go to Catholic high school, and that was really a seed because I also have a music background, and that was something I dreamt of doing, and I still do stuff, but I remember those theology classes were kind of intriguing to me. Just the questions we had, the conversations we had. So while I did start college as a music major, I ended up senior year changing it to religious studies. And I was at a Cal State Long Beach, so it was a secular school. So it was interesting to have that background because, the language and the geography and a lot of the contextual things were the same. People don't realize first that there's a difference between religious studies and theology, but there just wasn't an emphasis on prayer and, obviously a specific theology. But it was really intriguing to me because I started to see how religious beliefs they really open up more when you understand the world that it took place in. And before I knew it, I decided I wanted to change my major to that and teach. So I did, and I have been teaching ever since. And I can't believe this year, I'm starting my 30th year of teaching, which it's hard to believe, but it's also flown by. And that was what got me to, years ago, get into public speaking because it started with people would sometimes ask, hey, could you come to our youth group or come to our parish? And then I ended up hooking up later with Catholic Speakers Organization, which I know you are part of as well. And then, little by little, you'll go to conferences or, you get hired to do talks and all, and you just get a chance to share whatever topics people want to focus on. And for me, it's been great because whether it's in the classroom or in a parish setting, you're still ministering. And I think what's been amazing is when I've not just sharing what I've learned in my own studies and my faith walk, but also just getting to talk to people. My students are just people who are to talk and hearing their stories and one, realizing that I'm not alone in my own struggles, but also if there's some kind of insight that I could share with them, which isn't always, wisdom I have. It could be simply a matter of, talking to someone and saying, I think I can help you because I had someone I knew, years ago, XYZ, and then you share with them what they share with you. And we don't realize you're kind of like a little medium between you and this other person, or these two people that have never met and never will meet probably, but their life experiences are similar. And in one way or another, you're able to help them.
Thank you for doing such a great job with telling us all about your life, faith, and mission. I've known you for a while now. We've done a lot of different podcasts together, which I'm going to mention those podcasts. But I really like the fact that you're multifaceted. The fact that you're a teacher, you have an interest in music, in art, in theology, so many things. You're a family man. You've been teaching for all these years, and I think that's what makes us well-rounded. So I think you're the perfect candidate for, excuse me, Our Lady, Our Mother series. So what a beautiful thing, and so grateful to you for the great work that you're doing. Now you also wrote a book, and the book that
Yes.
you wrote is called "I Am His Mother." I own the book. In fact, now you have a new edition of it, so I would love you to tell the audience about that too. But please do tell us about that book because your relationship and your prayer life with the Blessed Mother has all to do with this podcast. So, super grateful. Please do share.
Thank you. It came from an idea from a couple of films. I love movies. And it was just a couple scenes in one film that's called Jesus from 1999, where the actor Jeremy Sisto plays Christ, and another movie called Mary, Mother of Jesus, which was a television movie that was on NBC years ago. And it was interesting because I had never seen the Jesus movie at the time it came out because I don't know why I didn't see it. I wanted to see it because everyone was just talking about how good it was. And I know at the time, Pope John Paul II really liked it. And that I was at Costco one day of all places, and they were selling the Mary Mother of Jesus movie with that movie, the Jesus movie, in a package. So I thought perfect because I love the NBC movie, and then because it was telling the story from her point of view, and then the other was just I wanted to see it, and there were just a number of scenes that they included that were like say not in the gospel, but I thought they did a great job really showing her relationship with Jesus. So I know that there's a lot of times in our lives, especially to say, I want to use a married couple, for example, where, sometimes like say you have a wife who's, her and her husband are going through a rough time and nothing, bad to the point of divorce or, where it's just unbearable. It's just they're struggling. And sometimes she just might talk to her mother-in-law about her husband. And, the mom's going to share things about him that maybe the wife already knows, but again, you're going to see it through the mother's eyes. And I don't know what came over me. It was just, I started thinking from that perspective and having a music background. I just remember I started writing. And while I was writing, I just had on my earbuds and I was playing a lot of Marian songs in the background. And the idea was just to show what would it have been like to see everything through her eyes, but also just I have kids, I'm not a mom, but I have kids. And, those little moments when you're raising kids that, like their first word and all like we don't see that in the gospel, but just how amazing that would have been. And, because then you see them grow up and they go from little kids to these amazing young adults that do great things. And um, it was just a very beautiful process. My mother was really liked the book, which meant a lot to me. And I had told her, I said it came out really quick. I think I finished the whole thing in like 6 weeks. And I think what guided me was just the fact that um, I had the Gospels in front of me. So I was basing it on, the things we knew about her from the Gospels. But also, I always like to sit there and think about those moments where, what if this happened? What if that happened? I'm actually, it's kind of funny. I love having conversations about conspiracy theories because some of them could be true. Some of them, maybe they're not. I don't think there's a harm in a conversation. So, just imagining, like a certain scene from the New Testament, and you could sit there and say, well, what do you think Jesus and his mother would have talked about after that happened? We don't know, but at the same time, we might know more than we would think because we ourselves have a similar experience. I mean, like, for example, when he received rejection, well, we have loved ones who also go through that, and we've counseled some of them or just listened to some of them. So we do relate more to the person Jesus than we realize just on our life experiences.
Well said, and it is so true. We have to remember the divinity of Jesus and the humanity of him, and how Mary related to him as a mother. And I mean, me being a female and a mother too, and also a grandmother, we need our Blessed Mother for guidance. I mean, I think whether you're male or female, we can call on Our Lady for guidance in our lives because she's the greatest of all saints. I know you'll agree with that one.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's just a wonderful thing for us to reflect on her. And I think that this is the first time in the foundation that we've made this decision to do a full, longer podcast series like this because we understand the importance of the Blessed Mother in our lives and her intercession, especially for those who are going through rough times. As you alluded to, marriages, maybe between a husband and a wife of going through some kind of a rough time, right? We all go through rough family times, whatever those things are. Now, during this 12-part series, every month that we meet for the podcast, we're going to talk about a different area of life that people are affected by. That could be something like, as we just alluded to, a relationship crisis. It could have something to do with a health crisis, the loss of a loved one, a separation, a divorce, being a caretaker, having something to do with your children, some type of a trauma or crisis to do with your children or grandchildren. So we're going to touch on all of those topics every month. And we're going to talk about how we can intercede to Our Lady. So I just want to ask all of you to please just stay tuned. Carlos, you talked a little bit about the book, and now I know there's a re-release because you have that new, beautiful new artwork to display too.
Yes.
Talk about that and give us a little bit more information about the book as well.
Yeah, it was interesting because the publisher I'm with, it's called Crimson Cloak out of Missouri. During COVID, they were slammed really hard financially. So the publisher had given the authors the option to walk away because she said if you want to find another publisher, they just weren't in a position to really market or publish anything new. And I thought about it, and I eventually did just to kind of explore options. And her and I were still in touch during that time I was away from the company, and I actually had called her one day there was an agent that got in touch with me, and I had kind of a weird feeling about it. So I called her to get her feedback on it, and it ended up kind of leading to hey, what have you been up to? And in the time I was away, they had done quite a bit of recovery and had a few more resources at their disposal. So um, we eventually reconnected, and she invited me to return, which I was really happy about. And she was just saying they had some resources to do some new covers. And so I said, yeah, if we're going to re-release, because I have a couple other books that she did release before that they're going to also re-release really soon. And so I said, hey, if we're going to redo these, let's do that. So she had done the cover. They had asked me, well, can you give us an idea of what you're looking for? And I just found specific painting I liked a lot where you see her just holding, the baby Jesus. And I just kind of gave them a real brief idea of what I was looking for. And then when they sent me the cover that's on the book, I was stunned when I saw it. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And then the big test for me was I had to send it to my mom and my mother. She texted me back and she said, I cannot stop crying. This is such a beautiful picture. Just seeing this young, beautiful woman that just is just staring at her child and she's so content. And so the idea was just to redo the cover, just to kind of give it a different look. And it's ironic because the book, it was re-released actually on the 15-year anniversary of the time it was originally released. And so right now I'm looking at returning to some of the Marian conferences or sometimes women conferences that I'd sold it in the past. And what's kind of exciting is I have actually gotten in touch with a lady I live in the Tucson area. I'm south of Tucson, and there's a lady up in Scottsdale, Arizona, which for those who don't know, it's outside of Phoenix. So it's about 2.5 hours away. She's a filmmaker and an actress, and we're currently in the process of trying to gather some funding to make a film out of this. So we're going to start with the prologue and do a short film to kind of put it out there and try to, get people interested. And I've actually already written the about 18 pages of a screenplay for that short film, and I'm going to continue adapting it to a screenplay version. So this story is not going anywhere for me as far as I'm being done with it. And it's actually been a really exciting project because now that I have to think visually in terms of a film, I have actually made a lot of changes to the story and I actually like it. It's actually, I'm like, it's kind of nice that it's going to be two different versions. And so far, she said she has talked to some people she knows who are involved with film and et cetera, and they like the idea. And so some people, even though they may look at this more as a human story specifically, I'm okay with that because to me, whatever's going to get them to see it. And sometimes you plant that seed and you go in for a different reason, and it could eventually awaken a faith life for somebody, or possibly if someone is sort of a wayward Catholic and has, they're just kind of going to go see it out of curiosity. You never know. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm real excited about this. I really am.
I'm excited for you too. And I just want to invite those who are listening or watching this on YouTube to check it out. Just go to Amazon and look up I Am His Mother by Carlos Solorzano,
Hmm.
and you can and get a copy if you want to do that. And I would highly recommend it because I have the book myself and I love it. And I think that any way that we can grow closer to our Lord through the Blessed Mother, through her intercession, is always a good investment when you buy a book. So thank you for your good work. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about this podcast series because we have a lot to look forward to. As I said, we're really going to focus every month on something different. As a foundation, that's what we do. We offer free pastoral care for individuals and families in crisis. We are headquartered in the Philadelphia area, but we really minister to people all over the United States and beyond. And so this podcast is a way that we can help others. And so I would like to invite you and ask you that once you're listening to this, please share it with your friends, let other people know. Share it out on social media with your friends and contacts via email, however you like to share it. We're so grateful to you. But keep also in mind those special services that we offer. The most important one that we offer is that people can talk to a priest for free on an online call or in person if they're in one of our areas. As a Mercedarian community, we are founded by the Mercedarian religious order. So we're in Philadelphia, we're in Western New York, we are in the Tampa, St. Petersburg, Florida area, and in two places in Ohio. We're in Columbus and also in Cleveland. So if there's a possibility that you're near any of those cities, you can do an in-person appointment. But if not, we can easily do a cell phone call, or we also offer Google Meet. And everything that we offer is free. That's part of the fact that we're a nonprofit. We like to offer those free pastoral services. All you need to do is reach out to us at our website at nonnatus.org. And, we'd be grateful to hear from you. But anyway, Carlos, I wondered if you had any other thoughts for our audience. Maybe somebody's listening who's going through some kind of a family issue, whether that's a relationship issue or something else with a family. Would you have any prayerful advice to them in terms of interceding to the Blessed Mother? Because I think you and I both know how powerful her intercession really is.
Oh yeah, I mean she's always, looking out for her children. And I think that what we have to do, because I'm kind of a I remember one time I had a former colleague of mine, she called me a control freak, and I was like, what did you call me? She goes, oh, I'm one too. I don't like people's help. So I've learned over the years to stop, take a step back or take a breath, reach out to those who I'm close to and say, hey, do you have a moment? I'm kind of struggling with this. I'd like to just talk to you about it. And sometimes, getting it out is all that you have to do. I mean, you can be having a disagreement with someone, and I've learned over the years that sometimes the most important thing isn't even a resolution or a compromise. It's just if both people say what's on their mind and they know they've been heard. Sometimes that right there is the healing thing. But I I've started a habit of I pray the rosary in the morning, and I started this habit of because I've always, obviously we know you're praying with her. It's always two when you're praying a rosary. So I've always kept that in my heart, but I've made this habit of I'll turn on my television and I'll go on YouTube, and there's so many churches who just display the Blessed Sacrament 24 hours a day, and it's just there, it's quiet. And so, yeah, there's one I particularly like for some reason. It's from Austria, but I love the image. I love what I see because it's the Eucharist, and then next to it, to the left, is a statue of Our Lady of Fatima. So when I'm praying for things, I'm looking at her and her son, and my mother would always tell me, just you have to lay it down to them, and they'll and but the thing is they will guide you, and it's amazing how first it'll calm me, soothe me, like I always finish and I feel better. Like sometimes maybe I don't sleep as much because I do it in the morning, so maybe I don't sleep as much because I have a lot on my mind, so I'm distracted. But as soon as I'm done, I always feel a lot better. I always feel calm. I always feel like, okay, whatever it is, I'll figure it out, or I can do this, or whatever is on my mind. But then also just to have the courage to continue to go forward. Because, in life, I mean, I just had a friend who, sadly, his nephew was murdered last Friday. Oh, and this is a dear friend of mine. I've known him since I was 16, and he's just devastated. And I spoke to him yesterday, and he's better, but he's a man of faith, and he's praying. And I had told him I would definitely pray for his family at Mass on Sunday, and I do pray for them daily. But that helps us move forward because we still have to live, and the struggles don't go away, but we have to know how to deal with it and in a constructive way. And then God's grace will be the thing that will guide us in that way rather than always, because I brought the control freak thing earlier because sometimes I feel like I have to figure out the problem. Like I'm an adult, I'm supposed to be responsible, and I don't always know what I need to do. And there's no shame in whether it's through prayer and grace is what leads me, or God directing me through the wisdom of another person. Either one is fine with me, but it's that famous saying of let go and let God. And when you involve Mary, Mary is always going to direct you to her son. So you're going to be in the right company when you need to be directed and what you need to do with your life.
We appreciate your sharing and offering sincere prayers for the loss of life, the murder of that young man, and
Yes.
and also calling out to our audience here. Please do lift a prayer for this family and for the repose of his soul.
Amen.
What our foundation is all about is what you just said, is just praying together, interceding to Our Lady, and having compassion for people in what the things that they go through in life. So I just thank you so much. And also I want to thank you, Carlos, just for being part of this series. I'm really excited for what is to come. This series is premiering the first Tuesday in July, and it will go for a full year. As I said, it's a whole 12-part series that'll premiere once a month on that 8 p.m. time slot on Tuesdays. So, Carlos, did you have any final words before we end this podcast?
Just thank you for concluding me with this, and I'm really excited about it. Really excited to share whatever I've learned over the years. Every teacher is a thief in the night, and so there's a lot of great things I've shared over the years in my talks and in my classroom work where I've learned it from others that was so life-changing for my students or my audience. And you and I are always good at conversing and bouncing ideas and sharing things off each other. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing what fruit this series produces.
Amen. That's exactly what it is. Fruit that this series will produce, and I believe it will. Thank you all for listening. And again, thank you, Carlos. Please do connect with us at our website at nonatus.org for those free services that I mentioned. God bless you all, and we will see you next month here with the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith.